Hello. Right, I thought I'd better do a bit of an update. Things have been going a little bit slowly. I've had some kind of disgusting virus, but so last weekend was a complete write-off. This weekend I've done quite a bit more. Run myself into the ground a bit because I've also got the BMW oil changed as well, so it took quite some time. But so I've made some great progress. I've got the triggers wired in now. The signal wires which come through, which are shielded through this 8-core cable. I've got a piece of somewhere. Here we go. Yeah, so this 8-core cable. See if I can get the camera to focus on it. Not a chance. So I've got a nice flexible shielded 8-core. That's all sorted. So the triggers for both the cams and for the crank have been wired in correctly. I've managed to sort out a load of stuff on the cooling system, so that's all piped in. The exhaust manifolds, as we saw last time, that's all sorted out and flat now, so that's back on the engine again after a bit of fiddling around. Drive-by-wire is running properly, so I had to swap over the two pedal position sensor signals because 1 and 2 were not the way around that I thought they were. So I've repinned them in the ECU, and that's absolutely fine now. So I tell you what, let's have a bit of a demonstration of that so you can see what that is like. So, okay, so we've got that whining noise is the controller, which is quite interesting. So let's just switch this one on. Okay, so let me turn this around so you can see. So I've got it set up with the primary trigger. So primary trigger is the VR sense from the crankshaft. That's a 36-2. We've got secondary trigger, which again is a VR, and that's set up using the 2JZ 3-teeth setup. What it's got is a 3-1 effectively on the end of the cam, so they're both identical, both inlet and exhaust, and that means I've also got this one here, which is the second cam input. I need to mess about with trigger offsets and things like that, but at the moment they're working fine. So the drive-by-wire, that's all been set up properly. The other thing which I needed to do was I needed to invert the motor direction. That wasn't working at the time. It was basically stuck shut, but now that's all sorted out. And so if I take you down here so you can see in there, let's see if I can. Yeah, it's working quite beautiful. Yeah, so we've got lovely control. I can set the maps up exactly how I want from here now, which is absolutely fantastic. So that's working really nicely. I'm ever so pleased with that. Let me just turn that up, disable it for now because it makes a crazy whining noise. I need to have a look and see why it's whining like that, whether or not it should be or not. I don't think it should, so I'll have a look and see why it's doing that. I swapped over from the mock turbo to my actual turbo now, so that is all. That's all on there as it should be. I made up the oil lines as well, so as you can see, there's a -4 braided line that runs from the centre of the turbo and runs around the top there down to the bottom. Now down there, crikey, it's quite hard to get things in this camera view. Down the bottom there, we've got all of the oil feeds are sorted out. So, crikey, we've got all the oil feeds sorted out. So I've got the oil pressure sensor is plumbed in via a vibration isolating line. The drain for the turbo, that's sorted as well, and that's all good. So I buttoned it up and I filled it with oil. If I bring this around here carefully without destroying anything, I can show you another cool feature of the ECU. Whoa. Okay, so what we can do is turn you around like this. Okay, so if I go to the test page, now this is the scope. So what we can do, I'm not too sure how to do this because I need like 4 hands. Let's see if I can do this. So if I put you there, hey, I think that'll work. Right, so I'm going to crank the engine. You ready? Now what I do is there's a little blue arrow there, so if I push that and then crank and then let go, oh not yet, no, right, let's try again. There we go. Right, see all that jump up? So what we've got there is our primary trigger at the top, and you can see all of the teeth which are running along, and then it gets to a missing tooth. So the missing 2 teeth, and it runs through, same again. Then you've got your secondary trigger which runs across, so this is our second cam angle. So you've got 1, 2, 3 teeth and then 1 missing. And then you've got the bottom one which is exactly the same but slightly offset. So you've got tooth, 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 no tooth. So that is all working really well. That is a brilliant little thing in the system, that scope, which enables you to be able to time these things up at home without messing about too much. Is really good. Excuse me. So with of course, with all the oil and everything in there, and the oil pressure sensor working, I've worked out that we've got just shy of 6 bar oil pressure cold cranking at 100 RPM. So that is basically just going straight up to the pressure regulator pressure, and the relief valve's doing what it's meant to do. No leaks, so I really can't complain. That's working extremely well, extremely well. Let's just switch that one off. So pretty good all in all. I've got the fuel level sensor that's now plumbed in as well, and that's showing what it needs to at empty tank. I need to pick up some fuel so we can put some in there and then measure that out. The rest of the fuel system's buttoned up as well. So I've got the all of the fuel AN6 fuel fittings are all tightened up. They're torqued down. The fuel filter fitting is torqued down. The return line I've fitted and used some of the Oka clamps on there, so the like the double ear clamps, which are absolutely fantastic. So we're pressing on and getting pretty close, really. I think I'm not going to get any done tomorrow, but I think we'll probably end up doing some more next weekend. And I don't think there's any reason why we can't fire up next weekend. It's going to be, got to get the exhaust manifold on and sorted. I could do with making a gasket. I've bought some copper, so I bought a piece of copper. So what I'm going to do is fabricate a gasket from that and anneal it so that it goes as soft as possible. Fit that between the turbo and the down and the manifold. I also need to TIG up the downpipe, so I'm going to pick up some more argon and I'll get that TIGged up, and that means that I can then seal up the exhaust system, and then that should be it. 12 volt feeds for the injectors and the coils as well, so the wires are all there. I just need to put them into the fuse box, and that should then give us spark, fuel. So we've got priming pump, we've got a sealed system, so we've got fuel. It cranks just fine, so you can get that spinning over, and as long as our triggers are in the right place, we should have some noise. So hopefully I'll come back to you next weekend, and we'll have a bit of noise, maybe. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Speak soon.